Hi, Doug from Pivigo here. I'm joined by Chris Lovejoy. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Hi Doug, I'm very well. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad at all, thanks. So it's the end of the program's fast approaching, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, exciting and nerve-wracking a bit at the same time. Interesting to
Yeah,
see if we can get everything to come together in time, but it seems to be going well so far.
oh, brilliant. That's good. Well, fingers crossed. I'd like to kick off by kind of finding out what the most valuable lesson you think you've learned in this whole program's been.
So I think there's probably a few candidates, but the top one would have to be the kind of importance of communication and kind of continuous communication throughout the program. Particularly when you're working remotely, I think it's been really important for us, and it's been. I think we've done a very good job of communicating very well throughout the project, and that's been key to us keeping on track with things and everybody knowing what everyone else is doing and being able to hopefully create something that will be very useful to the company that we're creating this for. And I think probably within that, I think there's a few different ways in which communication has been really helpful. So, for example, we've been doing kind of weekly feedback meetings where we've just discussed like what's been working well as a team, where could we improve, that sort of thing, and just iteratively updating our process that we're using for the project. And the fact that the project's only a 5-week course, it's pretty short. There's not a lot of time to waste. There's not a lot of time to be out of the loop with each other or for people to kind of work on things that overlap.
Yeah.
So I think it's been really helpful that there's always been something useful come up in those feedback sessions, and there's always been a lot of useful things that have come out by like really proactively communicating within the team, I would say.
Oh, that's great. I don't know. Do you have any kind of top tips then, having been through such a, like you said, intense time with no time for, faffing around essentially? Any top, remote working tips?
So top tips, I guess, on the theme of communication, like early on establishing what your communication methods are going to be and how you're going to structure that, but then also being open to changing that over time. So that was really helpful. At the start of the 5 weeks, we said, okay, we're going to have meetings at these times on these days. This is what we're going to discuss. This is where we're going to have a document that everyone can access to kind of record our thoughts and results as we go along. That's definitely been particularly helpful. Other tips, I think it's also important to structure your day. So one of the things with, I guess, any sort of project, but perhaps particular to remote working is you want to make good progress on certain technical aspects, and typically to do that you need like a good portion of time, like 2 hours, 3 hours, to really sit down and work on a problem. Whereas if you let kind of too many maybe small meetings kind of crop in throughout the day, or just too many commitments that affect your ability to have these long expanses of time, it can make it harder for you to tackle some of the more technical problems. So one tip I would give would be just to try and structure your day so that you have these blocks of expansive time, as well as times when you have lots of meetings. So what I've done within our team is we've tried to structure our times when we have a meeting. So we have a meeting early on in the morning. Sometimes we also talk later on in the afternoon. We have a good window kind of in the middle of the day to make technical progress without too many interruptions. And that's been something that's been really helpful again to help us kind of be successful on the project.
That sounds, really, really sensible. Definitely see the logic there. I completely agree with the fact that sometimes some, unimportant meetings start to creep into the diary with worrying regularity. And how's the project going as a whole? So are you guys on track for kind of release and that side of things?
I think we should be. We're kind of getting right up towards the end now, so probably 4 more working days before we do our presentation and present the final model that we have created. And I think, we should. I'm pretty confident that we should have a good model ready by then. I think, as with any project, there's always other analysis or always other things we could have tried that we're just not going to have time for. But I think, given the fact that it's 5 weeks, I think we've done a pretty good job of structuring our time and making sure that we can do as much as we can in that space of time. I think we've also been slightly fortunate in that when we started off, our data was in a format that was relatively ready to be analyzed. So it did require a bit of processing by us, but it was already in like a fairly structured format, and there wasn't a huge amount to do, maybe compared to some of other projects like within S2DS or just in general, kind of with a lot of data science projects that requires a lot of that kind of pre-processing of the data. So that's been really helpful, and that enabled us, I think, to make pretty good progress early on, which then gave us several weeks to work on different types of models and kind of iterating over different variations of those models. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think we will come up with a good model. We're still finalizing the details now. We have a few different candidate models that we're going to try, and probably either tomorrow or next week on Monday, we will make our kind of final decision and tidy everything up and prepare for the presentation.
Brilliant, that's really exciting. I'm going to tune into the presentations as well. So okay. I look forward to seeing it. Fantastic. Well, thanks very much, Chris, for taking the time. Really appreciate it. I'll let you get back, because I'm aware this may be perceived as a unnecessary meeting. But yeah, thanks very much for talking, and we'll catch up soon.
Great, no problem. Good talking to you, Doug.
Cheers.
See you later.